Hey YouTube, Sergeant Savinelli. We're back. Welcome to part 4 of Cigars and Tobacco, a Connecticut story. So, we left off somewhere in the area of F.D. Grave and their 7 million cigar sales a year. Big money for back in the 1800s. Big money. So from 1884 until the late 1930s, all of the F.D. Grave cigars were hand-rolled. In 1938, some German fella invented a cigar rolling machine, patented it, and started selling them everywhere. And so everybody started making machine-rolled cigars. With that advent, they phased out all of their hand-rolled lines because they had to keep up with competition now, because the machines were pumping out so many more, automated machines. They were pumping out so many more cigars than hand rollers could possibly do. So they needed to keep up with competition. Unfortunately, that's the nature of business. And by 1956. The last of the hand rollers retired. They didn't fire anybody. None of the hand rollers lost their jobs. They all were allowed to phase out by attrition, retirement. They just weren't replaced. So the last of the hand rollers retired in 1956, and the company switched over to 100% machine-made cigars. Efficiency and productivity was the deal. In 1905, there were 150 employees producing about 100,000 cigars a week. In the 1960s, they were producing twice as many cigars with less than a third the number of employees. Kind of sad, but again, that's the nature of business. So in 1900 and where the hell is it? Hang on, I'm finding it. Aspetta un minuto. I had it here. Where the hell did it go? Oh. So in 1986, not too long ago, 35 years ago, right? My math good? 35 years? Yeah, ish. In 1986, the rolling machines at the State Street factory in New Haven were switched off for the last time. And they started renting out parts of the building for various other ventures, other businesses, and so forth and so on. This was because there was a tax imposed here in the state of Connecticut, all right? And here, I'll read it to you. The state was talking about implementing a 20% excise tax on cigar inventories, okay? Which it finally did in 1989. But for a few years prior to that, they were talking about it. Now, that's not a 20% tax on buying the cigar. They were charging cigar-making companies 20% excise tax on what they had in stock, their inventory. All right? Ridiculous. So, being the astute entrepreneurs that they were, the Grave boys decided, and that was Fred Grave Jr. and his brother Rich Grave, they decided to outsource the making of the cigars, which they did. They ended up subcontracting it out to a company called FX Smith Company in McSherrytown, Pennsylvania. And it's funny because a lot of your cigars are now made in the state of Pennsylvania. All right? And we'll talk a little bit more about that briefly in a bit. So I had the pleasure a few years back of talking with Dorothy Grave Hoyt. who is the great-granddaughter of Fred Grave Sr., the man that started all of this. She had actually taken over the company from her father and uncle. And they actually, in 1994, when this was written, she was interviewed, and the brother and the father and uncle were also interviewed. They were still working at this time. They weren't ready. They were like 65, 70 years old each, the boys. And she was young. She was in her 20s, 30s, 1994. Yeah, early 30s maybe. Running the whole company. And it's funny how I came to talk to her. I've been smoking Moneymaker cigars for years. They were my favorite local cigar. We call them yard gars. You jump on the tractor, they're going to cut the grass. You got this thing sticking out of your face. You're puttering around in the garden or whatever. These are the cigars. In Connecticut, you smoked basically three cigars. Moneymaker, Topper, which was another Connecticut-made cigar at that time, and another popular type cigar was the Toscano cigar, either Squillo or DiNobili or Perotti, one of those brands. A lot of the old Italian men, the old German men, the old timers that were right off the boat that came here were smoking those types of cigars as well, the Toscano style. It's funny because the Moneymaker and the Toppers were all made here in Connecticut, and the Squillos and the DiNobilis and the Avantis and the Perottis, they were all made in Scranton, PA. Pennsylvania has also had a very long history of making cigars. Not so much growing the tobacco. They got a couple of tobacco fields over there, but they're not. I think they're growing more along the line of pipe tobacco than cigar tobacco, if I'm not mistaken. I believe that's the way it goes. But as far as making cigars, it seems like all of your companies that are rolling cigars for every other cigar manufacturer, company, they're in Pennsylvania. It's incredible. Absolutely incredible. So anyway, back to the story. So I wasn't buying them by the 50 box. I was usually picking up a pack. They had 5 packs. Little square box about yay big, had 5 cigars in there. Well, so I open up the pack and I go to light the cigar, and I can't draw the thing for anything. It was like trying to suck air through a piece of wood. So I did everything I could. Stuck the shish kebab skewer down there and tried to ream it out and open it up. And everything I did, forget it. I couldn't get that damn thing. So that cigar went in the garbage. I pull out another one. I try to light that one. Same thing. Like sucking air through a piece of wood. You couldn't draw it. You couldn't light the damn thing. So that one went in the garbage. Next one I lit was okay. I was able to smoke that one. The remaining 2 cigars in the box were like the first 2. Horrible. So I decided to, figuring, hey, listen, maybe there's a problem with the machine or something, that they're rolling them. Maybe she should, or she, I didn't even know it was a she, would call, somebody would call down there. So I call the number on the box. And I get this woman. Dorothy Grave Hoyt. I said, Dorothy Grave? Grave like the company Grave? She says, yeah, my great-grandfather started this company. Holy mackerel, I'm talking to, the royalty of the F.D. Grave Cigar Company. So we started chatting, and, I told her the problem, this, that, and the other thing. And she was very interested that there was an issue, and she hadn't had any complaints prior to mine, but that she was going to call down to McSherrytown, Pennsylvania, where they make them at the Smith Company there, and she was going to see if there was, if they have them check the machines and make sure that everything was okay. All right. We had a nice chat. About a week later, box shows up at my front door. What the hell is this? I open it up. There are 2 cellophane packages of 5-packs. Okay, so there was 10 5-packs in there because they were packaged in cellophane packs of 5 boxes each. So I ended up with 2 of these full sleeves. Couldn't believe it. So I called the number. She answers the phone again. When was the last time you heard of a CEO answering the phone of their own company? Amazing. I was so impressed by that. She answers the phone again. I said, "Hey, Dorothy." I said, "Hey, how are you?" Hey, she says, "Did you get the cigars I sent you?" I says, "Yeah, that's why I'm calling you." I said, "Geez, you didn't have to do that." She goes, "No, absolutely." She says, "I called down to McSherrytown, Pennsylvania, down to the Smith Company." She says, "And lo and behold, there was a problem with 2 of the rolling machines. And they recalled a whole bunch of the cigars because of this problem. And they never bothered to let Grave know." Oh, that's nice. So the problem was squared away and everything was made good again. That was a great experience. A little bit of sadness. I just recently found out that F.D. Grave and Son has closed their business permanently. Dorothy Grave Hoyt decided to retire. None of her offspring or the other Grave family members had any interest in taking over the business. So she felt that after such a long run, the longest consistently operated family cigar company in the state of Connecticut, she retired. Now, FX Smith, who was making the Moneymaker line, offered to purchase the Moneymaker name so that they could continue to sell the line. And Dorothy refused. Refused quite a bit of money from what I understand. It was considerable. Her reasoning being her great-grandfather came up with that name, and it was only fair that when the company finally closed its doors for the last time, that name should retire with the company. So Moneymaker cigars, as Moneymaker cigars, are no longer available. I happen to have a stash of a few boxes. And the other box I wanted to show you, because we're getting close on time again, another part of the Moneymaker line is the Moneymaker Breva 100s. Okay, these are a little bit longer, and they're a black cigar. They're dark, and they are so tasty. It's unbelievable. These became one of the most popular ones in the state of Connecticut and across the country. We've got people that I've read reviews on that were absolutely devastated when the company closed and you can no longer get these. So, the good news is this. FX Smith couldn't use the Moneymaker name because Dorothy retired it. They continued to manufacture all of the original FD Grave Moneymakers that were left. The Moneymakers, the Palmas, the Longs, the Straights, and the Brevas. And they just repackaged them under the name Tuscarora, which are available still, and you can buy them. It's their Moneymaker. If you want to taste what a Moneymaker looks like, go online, look up Tuscarora cigars, and you'll get the whole history of the Moneymaker thing and so forth. And I'm going to clip you guys right here, and we're going to pick up with part 5 momentarily. So stay tuned.